That is a band called Masters Apprentices and a song called Because I Love You. Now, Rob, we often talk about coincidences, don't we?
We do indeed. And
I'm going to wave something about here. What do you notice?
We're taking it to a whole new level. Well, I'm noticing...
what's the name of the book?
It's Because I Love You.
Yeah.
And a pretty lady sitting on a chair looks very similar to something that happened way back in time as well.
Yeah, it did. But what's even more coincidental is, does the person on the front of the book remind you of anyone?
Apart from a change of hairstyle, about 1 metre from me right now sits that person.
Karin Keays, hello.
Hello, Neil. Hello, Rob.
Lovely to have you.
It's lovely to be here.
How very nice to have you
here. We have
here.
spoken to icons of the Australian music industry on the phone. We've had a couple come into the studio, but to actually have...
Like, you're following in the footsteps of Dennis Walter. Let's not beat around the bush, right?
I bow to the great
as you should.
Bow to the great man. Yeah. No, but to have a definite direct connection to an amazingly massive part of the Australian rock and roll industry in the studio, it's pretty cool. And we're going to find out a bit about what life would have been like for someone chasing this amazing industry, this amazing characters that are in this industry. You were there.
I was there. I look forward to exploring that.
Now, before we go any further, Karin,
yes,
we do need to tell people it's Karin, by the way, for all those people going, why is he saying Karin instead of Karen? Karin, so let's get that bit out of the road. One of the things that I think we don't recognise well enough was Jim's talent. By the way, Karin is the wife of Jim Keays, the late great Jim Keays. We didn't acknowledge his work as a lyricist enough, in my mind, and I've got a particular clip of music that I think you'll fully appreciate the lyrics associated with it. Rob, would you mind if I play it?
You go right ahead.
We are the pride of Brisbane town, we wear the roll, blue and gold.
We're going to let it play.
Go right ahead.
Mighty Lions.
Oh, there you go. Doesn't that bring a tear to your eye?
Kick the winning score. You'll hear the mighty roar.
We won't put all those Geelong supporters through it a second time. And well done you for singing along in your Geelong shirt.
Love that song.
We can't give him any credit for the music.
No,
but
that's the French national anthem.
Yeah, yes, indeed. La
some
Marseillaise.
Frenchman wrote that.
Yeah, although not all of it. If you the first time I heard the proper French national anthem, there's a bit in there that they chopped out in the original version. You go, where's that coming from?
Make Jim's words fit.
Yeah, that's it. So not many people realise he wrote the words to that, and of course also he can't take the credit for the music of this one, the Melbourne Victory song.
He did the victory song. That was through Glenn Wheatley, who
yep.
gave him a call one day and said, "Oh, want you to throw your hat in the ring for the new victory song?" And so Jim, we looked at each other because we'd when he was doing the Lions song, we'd avid footy fans. Jim was a Demon. I'm a Lion, of course, and we were going through all the different club songs, and I said, there's one song that's not been taken by any of the clubs that would have been the best ever. Scotland the Brave. So when he was asked to do another club song, he knew immediately what music he'd put it to.
Karin, how did a Gold Coast girl get on the Fitzroy bandwagon?
Oh, Brisbane Bears.
Oh, you've gone that way, right?
Yes,
so you weren't one of those Fitzroy tragics
no,
before you went up there.
I was one of 6 paid up interstate Melbourne members of the Brisbane Bears. And in fact, I remember a day where I drove down to Cardinia Park and to watch them, and Geelong were our nemesis. They absolutely trounced us, and it was in the rain, and it was horrible, and even the supporters were looking at me like they felt sorry for me.
Well, the last time I saw Fitzroy play live, I did refuse to go to the last 2 games because they were going to be circuses, was at Princess Park in Carlton, and the Fitzroy side were playing as a team called the Brisbane Bears. And I took my kids along, who would have been 5 and 3 or something, and said, I want them to see the Fitzroy side play one more time, but also this team called the Brisbane Bears. And there was this kid who tore us apart. And I just remember hurling encouragement across the fence at him. His name was Michael Voss.
Yes.
4 weeks later, he was our Brownlow medalist. It's the most bizarre feeling. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the footy, but I'm happy to do that. I am holding in my hand 200 and it doesn't have page numbers. What's going on there? A very thick book called It's Because I Love You, and it's written by you. It's got a subtitle of One Woman's Story of Love, Loss and Rock and Roll. Karin, discuss.
Well, it's called It's Because I Love You because, well, the song title is Because I Love You, not It's Because I Love You. But this book, it's about, it's not what you think.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's about just me and Jim. It's not. I started writing the book about our son William and his birth and death and what I learned from that and what I wanted to share with people. And the actual working title of that was called Angel in My Arms. For years, that's what it was called. And I kept coming and going from it. And I think, I don't know how to write this so that people are going to want to read it or be able to read it because it was just too awful sometimes and too hard. And then I sat down one day and I thought, how am I going to do this? It was his 18th birthday and had passed, and I just still didn't have his book out. And I thought it's got to be out for his 21st. So I thought, I've always wanted to be a romance novelist ever since I was a child. Always wanted to write romance novels.
Rob does quite a lot of work in that.
Do you, Rob?
He works under a pen title of Barbara Cartland. A lot of people don't realise that.
I'm not believing that one. But anyhow, I've seen Barbara Cartland. Did you know? No, you didn't know, Diana. So
she's actually younger than Rob, Barbara Cartland.
Yeah, so, sorry.
Sorry, back to you.
Yes, where was I?
You were getting ready to write a book before the 21st birthday of your son.
And so I thought I would write my own real-life romance with Jim and wrap William's story in that, as it should be, because William was born of our love. And that's what I did. And once I decided to do that, and I wrote from that perspective, it flowed.
Yeah. And, I said to you when the book came through that... which I paid for, by the way, Rob, in case you're wondering.
Well done.
I bought the book before we'd even spoken. And I thought to myself, exactly what you're thinking. And I tend not to read stuff before a conversation because it takes away from the surprise. I'm really glad I did because I would have fallen into exactly that trap. The story is both happy, funny, but obviously very, very sad. Tell us about the circumstances around William's birth.
Well, he was but all three of my children, he was overdue and a big baby. And I'd had no problem giving birth naturally to two very big overdue babies before. The obstetrician really started making noises about 2 weeks out saying, you've got to be induced for this baby, Anyhow, long story short, you can read about it in the book. William was induced. It wasn't managed properly, in my opinion, and William was born dead. Revived in the theatre while I was, he was born by emergency caesarean, and he was over the other side being revived while I was being sewn up, and he ended up being transferred to a major hospital because this was in a private hospital. And in the neonatal intensive care, he died in the early hours of the next day. In our arms, Jim and I held him as he died, and for a while, everyone was saying, this was not right. It shouldn't have happened, and I was so traumatised. I was just saying, no. Everyone did the best they could, and then after a while, it became obvious when I started asking some questions that there were some serious questions that weren't being answered to my satisfaction. So I ended up requesting an inquest, and it was granted, and there was an inquest into his death. And that went for several years. Yeah.
And, I can't even begin to think and don't want to begin to think of the impact that would have on you and on Jim and I guess on the girls. How much older were Bonnie and Holly at the time? Holly
was 8 and, well... So 7 or 8, thereabouts. And Bonnie was just a toddler.
And I'm sorry using their names, but they're used in the book, so
Absolutely.
I figured it was okay to use them.
Of course you can use their names, yes.
Because they're grown-ups now.
Very proud of our daughters.
Yeah, as you should be. Yeah.
Yes.
The desire to write, is that something you've always had always a desire to do it? So the vehicle, as you're saying, it's changed for you to get this way, but when did you first do some writing to get this inspiration going?
Even as a child, I was always writing little romance stories
Yeah.
or just little novels. And then when after Holly was born, and I was on maternity leave, and I had some time whenever she was asleep.
both hours of the day.
I know. I decided to start doing some travel writing, and just to see if I could, and then I wrote something, and I sent it in, and it was published. And so I did a bit of travel writing there for a while, that was published in national newspapers, syndicated around Australia. So I knew I could write. I knew I could write in a way that people would like to read. And so when William was born, I thought, after a while, with the inquest and what I learned from that, I really wanted to share it. And I started writing about it, and it took me a while to work out how to write it in a way that was readable.
Yeah. Do you think this would take you into maybe writing some more fictional stuff? Because it sounds like quite a lot of what you've done is lived experience or observed experience, as opposed to the magic of the writers who create things out of nothing.
I have my first novel in my head.
Yeah.
It's been there for years. It develops away in my head, and I feel this memoir, It's Because I Love You, is the first of two. So the second one is it's on hold at the moment because there are other things going on. But I'm about a third of the way through that, and once I get, it's actually still being written.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that comes through, and this is by no, I'm not saying this because you're sitting within arm's reach and you'll whack me in the ear if I don't say it, but you read a lot of biography, autobiography, memoir kind of books, and you can see that some people can write and other people are just spilling ideas onto the paper. This is a book that's been written by a writer. It very clearly comes through.
Thank you, Neil.
It's very, very readable. Rob, when I got hold of it, I rang Karin and said, the book's arrived. I'm not going to read it. And she said, look, at least read through to the preface, right, because then it gives you some insight. After I got to chapter 13 or 15, I thought, I'm going to bed now. It's one of those books you seriously, you hear people go, I can't put it down. Yeah. It's a really hard book to put down. And I think the fact that Jim's in there, and here comes my name drop, I interviewed Jim in 2010, so I had sort of a bit of an insight as to who he was and the kind of guy he was. But even if you didn't know who Jim Keays was, it's a really good read, which I think is a really important measure of the book. Yeah.
Thank you. And the reason why you couldn't find any numbers at the back is because I've included at the back, after it finishes, just the first draft of the first chapter of book 2.
Yes, indeed. I did read that bit.
There's no
a little
page
teaser
numbers on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can get an idea
It's
of
a bit
what's
like
coming.
very similar to when you watch maths, Rob. In the next episode, it's kind of very similar, isn't it?
Oh my goodness! Please don't.
I
go
get a
there
bite
today.
every time I mention it.
Do you?
Greatest waste of television space in history.
Now, let's talk about Jim Keays, because
Yes.
we've heard a couple of songs that he sings, and we may even hear another one before the day
Excellent.
is out. He could sing a bit and he could play a bit.
He could.
He was a good, but all of that above the thing, and I read it in the book, and we've experienced it with several other people that we've met along the way, including Russell, who is obviously very close to your family, Russell Morris.
Yes.
He was just a nice bloke.
He was a
Jim.
great bloke. He was just a great bloke,
I'm
great
preaching
husband,
to the converted. I get that.
great father.
Yeah.
And book 2, I do allude at the end to how things went with us, but I won't give it away.
No.
But the love between us lasted till the end of his life and onwards.
Yep.
And Jim died in my arms, and that's how.
How did you handle what seemed from the outside the craziness of the rock and roll industry, and some people obviously struggled within it, and there's lots of stories of premature departures from this earth from music icons, but others seem to be able to manage that nonsense that went around. How did Jim and you keep away from that, if indeed you did keep away from it?
We did keep away from it. Yeah. When I met Jim in 1988, he didn't drink, refused to take any chemical drugs, not even a Panadol. So, so he was pretty much straight. He liked to smoke, but that was about it. I wouldn't say he was a huge smoker. And he was just into his house and his music and his life, and he'd bought the house out at East Doncaster, and
good part of the world, that, Rob. There's some very fine citizens.
Doncaster does get mentioned on this show as much as Mottawarri does.
We ended up selling that one when the big crash came, the financial market crashed and there was the recession, but that's okay. That's all in the book. It's a good story.
Yeah. You should get a copy of the book, Rob. That would be my recommendation.
It sounds like it will be a good one, because if you have picked it up and couldn't put it down, knowing you as I do, it must be a good read.
And I can't read. That's the other thing. That's
in answer to your question. Sorry, Rob, I digress there. But Jim, of course, went through all the craziness. He did it all in his youth, when I was still in nappies, probably. So, because he was 18 years older than me, so he did all that. And by the time I met him, he didn't want to do that anymore. He'd done with it. He was in a different space in life. And he always used to say to, and I think he said it in several interviews, a friend of his said, "Oh, would you ever consider, getting married again?" And he said, "Well, yes, I'd love to, but, she's going to have to come and knock on my front door to do it." Well, that's exactly what I did.
that was going to be where I was going next, so perfect segue. The 18-year gap is always of interest anyway, but you're from the Gold Coast. He's a rock and roll icon. How did the day come when you did meet, and how quick was the magic?
Well, the day came when I'd just driven down 3-day drive from the Gold Coast in my little red Laser to be with my best friend, Snezana. And she had lined up for us to meet because I needed a place to live temporarily, because we were going to save up together and travel overseas and tour the world. And this seemed perfect because Jim was going on tour and he needed somebody to mind the house and the cat. So she took me round the night I arrived to meet Jim. And I thought he hated me. I just thought, I'm not going to get this place. It seemed perfect because I wanted a garage for my car. And but no, he wouldn't look at me, didn't look at me, sort of ignored me really. And I thought, this is not going to work. I have to look for a different place. And it turns out he was poleaxed when he opened the door. He didn't know where to look, and he said it was love at first sight.
He went all coy.
He went all coy. Yes, he did. Talked to everyone but me.
Which again, you find hard to believe from the Jim Keays we all know.
Yes.
So you'd given up. So how did the second meeting happen? Did he finally muster the courage to ring, or was it just another chance crossover through your friend?
Well, what would happen is we all went out together that night. It was planned that we'd all just go out, and we went out to a party and a club and all that sort of thing. And then whenever Snezana and I would go out, Jim would appear there. It turned out later he'd been ringing Snezana to find out where we were going so he could turn up.
Magically turn up.
Yes, yeah. And so we just became friends. We started talking. He said, "Come on over, we'll talk about the room, how that's going to go." And I was actually his tenant for a while. Yeah.
The old get him in as a tenant routine. Yeah, nicely played, Jim.
And I suppose there's, for someone who has got a creative writer's mind, no doubt that would have all been covered off in the book, and there would have been that Barbara Gartland in you coming out.
I hope so. I can only hope.
Good stuff.
So when you were growing, I went into the previous program. I'm not going to name names. It wasn't him. It was somebody else in the studio. I said, "Oh, Karin Keays is coming in. Wife of Jim Keays." Who's Jim Keays? I'm assuming as a kid you knew who Jim Keays was.
No, I didn't.
No idea.
No idea.
Wow.
I'd only heard of him in relation to when Snezana and I on the phone had decided that I would come down to Melbourne and that we'd do our world trip together. And she started talking about this guy she knows, this rock star's got this big house, has rooms for rent, and you'd be perfect. And I said, "Who? Jim Keays?" I said, "Well, never heard of him." She goes, "You got to know Jim Keays, Master's Apprentices. Never heard of him. Don't you know their song?" And I'm like, "What song?"
Well, there was a radio show on this radio station until COVID came along called Turn Up Your Radio. Oh. Who hosted? Oh, that was me, wasn't it? That's right. Yeah.
No, the industry has been opened up to me by Neil with his contacts, Jim being one of many, and there's a similarity between them. All of these people that we've talked to, one is humility, respect and admiration for each other, and just this genuine love of music and creating music. You've obviously been part of Jim's life, but also the extended family of the Australian music industry. And did you find it that way too, that these people had every right to walk around with their head jammed up their own bottom, but none of them did. They were just very down-to-earth, basic people.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there because, I don't know, they wouldn't last around each other too long. You know, when you have all these legends like Jim, Russell, Billy Thorpe, and I'm not trying to leave anybody out here because there's so many of them, too many to list. If one of them walked in and sort of strutted in and sort of said, "Here I am, I'm the star," everyone just turned around and go, They were just, I think because the Australian music industry, especially back then, was so hard. They had to do the hard yards, and they all did it at different places, different times together, though. And there's no room in that for too much ego and big heads.
You didn't know Jim Keays, but were you starry-eyed about other people in the music industry then?
Yes, actually. When Jim introduced me to Colleen Hewitt, I was tongue-tied. Seriously, because it was the first album I ever bought. Was what is it? The double.
Yeah, I know the one you mentioned. Yes. What it's called. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Colleen Hewitt. I just couldn't. I didn't know what to say.
How quickly did you realise that these icons were just normal people when you were in that environment for a while?
Yes, I knew it, and with most of the other people that I met, I had no issue. But for some reason, it was just this childhood thing coming back with Colleen Hewitt, and I just poor Colleen.
Yeah, so I had a similar thing when I rang, or Marsha Hines rang me to talk to me, and I've got because people have worked out I can talk. I couldn't that day. I was in all sorts. Karin, we are desperately short on time, so we're going to have to ask you to come back another time if that's all right.
I would love to
have a bit of a chin wag. But how's this, Rob? Next Saturday morning, you're not here, but our special guest is a young man, he's probably not that young, Jonathan English, who is the son of the great John English.
Oh, yep.
They're going to be, we won't give it away, but there's some work going on in their life. Yesterday, I spoke to Karin about this conversation, and then, for reasons I still haven't quite got my head around, I decided to move my records from one place to another in the house. Now, I can't pick up how many records, 200, so I've picked them up in groups. I've gone to the shelf and grabbed a handful, and the album sitting on top was Some People by John English. I then went and got the next lot. The next album was Master's Apprentice's Choicest Cuts, or whichever album I heard.
Choice Cuts.
But there wasn't there a choicer, the newer version?
Oh, there might have been.
I think it was the new version was called, or anyway, whatever it was that album. The next one was Boy from the Stars by Jim Keays. I'm plucking these out at random. And then, to top it off, I've picked up a set of little stationery shelves, and jammed in the front is a business card with a telephone number and the word Daryl Cotton, who was, of course, part of Cotton, Keays and Morris. Like, I'm thinking to myself, tomorrow is the day we have to meet this person, because...
Talk about signs.
to buy a Test Lotto ticket as well,
it's
probably.
Extraordinary. Karin, this book is an absolute ripper, and I'm not saying that because you're sitting next to me. It is a beauty. It's called It's Because I Love You by Karin Keays, Karin. The best place to buy it, for my money, is on the website, which is karinkeays.com.
Yes.
Don't go to Dimmicks or any of those other bookshops, because if you do, they'll pocket the difference, and it's much more important that we're supporting this nice person who's sitting with us. Karin Keays, Karin, Keays, Keays. It's a ripper read. Do yourself a favour. There you go. I've gone all rock and roll. Thank you for coming in. It's really great that you live down in this part of the world, because we can get you in again another time and have a chat.
Yes, just a lovely drive.
You ever thought of a career in radio yourself?
No.
We have.
Yeah, we have.
It's not working. Karin, thanks for coming in. It is a really good book.
Thanks for inviting me.
Prepare yourself for a few laughs, obviously a few tears. It's quite sad in places, but it's a really good book. So well done you.
Thank you.
Now, we are going to play a song that he's never heard, I reckon. Comes off an album called Caledonia, which is a brand new release.
It is, and that is available as well as my book from Great Music Lives Forever.
Yes.
The website.
Yes. We should take our hat off to Robert Rigby, who's the man behind that. Yes. He's done a lot of, I'm going to use the word restoration of albums, and also releasing of albums. Just tell us a little bit about Caledonia and how we can have an album that's brand new.
Well, it was recorded in about 2000 by Jim, but it was never released. It just sat there for years. And the reason why it was because we had Bonnie, Jim was busy with Long Way to the Top, things like that, and then we had William, and that consumed our lives for quite a while.
I think you should also mention the other coincidence, the name on the back of that little bit of music, which ties in this particular station, which is quite incredible.
This is the single by Masters Apprentices, and there's no "the" in Masters Apprentices, folks, in case you have ever done that. They did a re-recording, a re-release of Because I Love You in 1988. It was also tied in, I think, with the bicentennial. Was that, I think, was part of the deal? Or did he purely and simply record it because he'd fallen in love with this beautiful girl from the Gold Coast?
No, that was before me. He recorded it before me.
But the engineer on this single, recorded at the Power Plant Studios, is a bloke called Adam Quaife. Now, Adam is the host of Quaife's Studio Hour on a Sunday afternoon on this radio station.
Quite incredible. When Adam went through the introduction to radio course, I knew of the fact that he was involved in music engineering and production. And then the more we find out about him, the more connected he was. And then in amongst all your album findings over the last week, there his name pops up on the back as one of the engineers for that. So good on you, Quaife. We look forward to your show on
And I remember
Sunday.
Adam from those days.
Yeah, he remembers you. So he's going to catch up with you at some stage. He said.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Now we something just popped into my head. What was that? And it's completely gone. Yes, I know. The interview that I did with Jim in 2010, I found the other day. I'm so excited that I found it. I will put a link to that interview on our Two Blokes Chatting Radio Show Facebook page because people can listen to it. It's 58 minutes, I think it goes for, but put aside some time. If you're driving to Melbourne or something, have a listen. It's really, really good. Karin, thanks for coming in. Here is a song called Waiting for the Big One by Jim Keays.